faithfully delivering value and interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today, I'm interpreting the book called The Sports Gene for you. The subtitle is The Science Behind Extraordinary Athletic Ability. Competitive sports strive for faster, higher, stronger goals. The extraordinary performances of athletes on the field leave countless spectators in awe. On the international sports stage, more countries are showing collective advantages in events. For example, Jamaica has surged in sprinting. Kenya and other East African nations dominate long-distance running like marathons, while China excels in skill-based sports like diving, table tennis, and badminton. And second, what causes these differences? Is it due to innate genetic differences or differences in the diligence of training? Today's The Sports Gene will reveal the science behind sports. The author of this book, David Epstein, graduated from Columbia University in the US and was a track and field athlete during his time there. He was a renowned science and investigative reporter for Scientific American, focusing on sports news and science, and won the Deadline Club Award from the Society of Professional Journalists. However, one is Epstein interviewed many scientists and athletes, writing this book based on modern genetics and sports science research. In the book, he discusses the relationship between talent, effort, and sports performance. He also talks about the impact of social factors like economics and culture on sports. He explores the current state and controversies of genetic research in sports. Zhang Bin, a famous host from CCTV Sports Channel, praised the book for guiding sports lovers infinitely close to human origins. All right, next, I'll interpret the book's main content using 3 questions. First, how important is talent for an athlete? Second, how do postnatal factors affect an athlete's performance? Third, what are the current applications of sports gene research? And what controversies does it face? Next, let's start with the first question of the book. Talent. How important is it for an athlete? On the international stage, there's no shortage of genius athletes, like Jamaica's flying man, Usain Bolt, golf prodigy Tiger Woods, go genius Lee Sedol, and diving queen Fu Mingxai. They are all highly talented in their sports and reached world championship peaks at a very young age. In the late 20th century, with the deepening of genetic research, scientists linked some athletes' innate athletic talents to specific genes. But genes inherently determine different innate physical conditions and give some people advantages in certain sports. Next, I'll discuss how genes affect athletic performance from 4 aspects: gender, physique, muscle type, and maximal oxygen uptake. First, genes determine the gender of males and females, and this greatly affects athletic ability. The genetic differences between males and females are small, mainly concentrated in a small part of the sex chromosomes, but this tiny difference is enough to cause significant physical differences, impacting their athletic abilities. Oh, you were. These differences are mainly manifested in the following 3 aspects. First, because men have higher testosterone levels, they have greater muscle mass and find it easier to build muscle through training. And men, whereas women generally have higher body fat content. Second, testosterone boosts red blood cell production, giving men higher oxygen utilization than women, leading to more energy production and less fatigue. And third, men typically have body proportions better suited for sports, like narrower hips, making them more efficient in most athletic activities, and they're less prone to injuries. In various sports, women can outperform untrained men after high-intensity training. But men with the same high-intensity training will achieve better results than women. How much difference is there between top male and female athletes? Take running, for example. From the 100 meters to the marathon, the top 10 male athletes are on average 11% faster than the top 10 females. In events requiring explosive power, the gap is even wider. For instance, in the long jump, top female athletes lag behind men by 19%. Swimming has smaller gender differences, but even in the 800-meter freestyle, where the gap is narrowest, The male champion leads the female by nearly 6%. The second aspect of how genes affect athletic performance lies in their influence on physique.
Research shows that over 100 gene loci affect physique, with height being the most impacted. Taller individuals have a natural advantage in many sports.
Because they generally have larger skeletons, which in most cases means their bodies can support more muscle. Take basketball as an example. In recent NBA seasons, the average player height has increased to over 2.10 meters. Additionally, NBA players have an average wingspan to height ratio of 1.633. This means their wingspan exceeds their height, giving them better shooting release points. Players under 2 meters find it harder to enter the NBA unless they have exceptional jumping ability, though not all sports favor height. Over the past 30 years, top female gymnasts' average height dropped from 1.60 meters to 1.45 meters. While taller gymnasts have more elegant movements, they struggle with flips and twists and make more errors. In contrast, shorter athletes excel in events like marathons because smaller bodies have higher surface area to weight ratios, allowing better heat dissipation and metabolic maintenance. Body proportions also significantly impact athletic performance. For instance, longer legs benefit running and jumping events since they usually mean longer Achilles tendons that store more spring-like energy. Swimmers need shorter legs, though, as longer torsos with shorter legs increase water contact surface area. Famous American swimmer Michael Phelps stands at 1.93 meters tall, but his legs measure just 81 centimeters, shorter than many people who are 1.70 meters. Third, muscle type affects sports performance. Human muscles consist of fibers. Everyone has both fast twitch and slow twitch types that function differently. Fast twitch fibers generate explosive power quickly, while slow twitch fibers provide endurance during prolonged activity. Athletes train specific muscles for their sports. Sprinters repeatedly drill explosive movements. Fast twitch muscle fibers to boost explosive power. Through training, the quality of their fast twitch muscle fibers, especially in the calves, increases. Fast twitch fibers constitute over 75% of total muscle mass in top sprinters, while endurance athletes, like marathoners, develop more slow twitch fibers. First, research shows the absolute number of fast twitch versus slow twitch muscle fibers is genetically determined. Training can only increase the mass of each muscle fiber. This means some athletes are naturally suited for certain sports. Those with more fast twitch fibers develop greater explosive power and excel in sprinting. Just as there are genes for speed, there are genes that limit running ability. The ACTN3 gene typically appears in pairs as R or X variants. When both ACTN3 genes are X variants, it's called the XX genotype. Individuals with the XX genotype struggle to become elite sprinters. Australian research shows 18% of Australians have XX genotype, but only 5 of 107 elite sprinters were XX. None made Olympic teams. Globally, 1 billion people carry XX. Concentrated in East Asia, 25% prevalence, while virtually absent in Black populations, potentially explaining sprint dominance. Fourth, let's examine how genes affect maximal oxygen uptake. Maximal oxygen uptake, VO2 max, measures oxygen consumption during peak exercise. It's the most accurate indicator of aerobic capacity. For endurance sports like marathons, higher VO2 max means better performance, though it can be improved through training. But studies show 21 gene segments influence VO2 max. Dominant Kenyan and Ethiopian marathoners live at high altitudes. Ethiopia's Amhara people reside above 3,500 meters where oxygen is scarce. Natural selection favored efficient oxygen users who passed this genetic advantage. Some may ask, do Tibetans naturally have higher maximal oxygen uptake? The answer is no. Tibetans living at higher altitudes evolved a different genetic mechanism. Most Tibetans carry a special variant of the EPAS1 gene that allows normal bodily function with less oxygen intake. Thus, Tibetans lack innate advantages in endurance sports like marathons. We've covered the first question: genes control physique, muscle type, VO2 max, creating innate athletic differences. But but every elite athlete trains relentlessly daily. A reporter once asked the late NBA star Kobe Bryant, "Why have you been so successful?" Kobe countered, "Do you know what Los Angeles looks like at 4 a.m.?" The reporter was momentarily speechless. Though seen as immensely talented, Kobe believed relentless daily training was key to his success. So, how do postnatal factors affect athletic performance? Now to the book's second question. Reaction time and memory require long-term training. First, reaction ability. In ball sports, we marvel at players' incredible reaction speeds. In tennis, badminton, and table tennis, they react faster than the ball flies, positioning themselves before it arrives. This comes from training. Research shows tennis players predict shots not by tracking the ball, but by reading opponents' torso arm movements, anticipating direction before the swing. The same applies to badminton. Studies found when blocked from seeing opponents' bodies, professional badminton players reacted no faster than amateurs to the shuttlecock alone. In swimming sprints, the start reaction time between gunshot and dive improves through repeated auditory training to shave milliseconds. Beyond reaction speed, memory ability also requires continuous postnatal training. Take memory-intensive games like Chinese chess. Grandmasters like Zhang Chuan and Hu Ronghua can play 20 simultaneous blindfold games, considered extraordinary memory feats. So how do players remember so many game states at once? Studies show players easily remember logical game positions, common in actual matches. Longer training correlates with stronger recall ability. With randomly arranged boards, elite players remember no better than amateurs. Both reaction speed and memory need repeated training. But how long does it take to reach elite level in a sport? Research suggests around 10,000 hours, known as the 10,000-hour rule. First observed in music training, psychologist Anders Ericsson found elite musicians need at least 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. How long is 10,000 hours? 3 hours daily training for 10 years straight achieves this. Since sports training resembles music, Ericsson extended the rule to athletics. Thus, athletes generally need 10,000 hours, about 10 years of rigorous training, to reach elite status. Of course, the author notes 10,000 isn't absolute. Different sports require varying durations.
Basketball, hockey, and wrestling need less training, averaging 4,000, 6,000 hours for elite status. Skill-based activities like chess require closer to 10,000 hours. Elite players average about 11,000 hours. With less natural talent, becoming elite demands even greater postnatal effort.
Swedish high jumper Stefan Holm stands just 1.81 meters, a short athlete in a sport dominated by 2 meters plus competitors. High jump relies heavily on innate talent, since height usually correlates with Achilles tendon length, which significantly impacts jump height, much like a longer spring stores more elastic energy. But a longer Achilles tendon stores more elastic energy for higher jumps. Compared to other high jumpers, Holm is relatively short, with a proportionally shorter Achilles tendon. His physique isn't ideal for high jump, yet he trains twice as hard as others. He's possibly the world's most prolific high jumper, performing countless strength and sprint drills daily. Long-term training can't lengthen the tendon, but it thickens and enhances elasticity. His training also gave him the fastest approach speed among jumpers, maximizing tendon energy release. Through sheer hard work, Holm outshone gifted competitors to win the 2004 Athens Olympic gold. As an old Chinese proverb says, diligence compensates for lack of talent.
Increased postnatal effort can bridge innate talent gaps.
Beyond hard training, cultural differences impact athletic success.
The Copenhagen Muscle Research Center studied Kenya's Kalenjin tribe, renowned for long-distance running.
Research showed Kalenjin boys have identical muscle types and slow twitch fiber levels as Danish boys, but Kalenjin have longer legs with slimmer, lighter calves, creating an energy-efficient build ideal for distance running. Kalenjin dominance stems from both innate traits and cultural practices. They grow up running through hills and fields. Distances over 10 kilometers are routine. Thus, they begin logging 10,000 hours young, though others globally share similar physiques. South Sudan's Nilotic people share similar builds with Kalenjin, yet few compete internationally. A key reason. Unlike stable Kenya, South Sudan's persistent conflicts prevent focus on training and competition. Unique cultural habits and stable domestic conditions are key reasons for Kenyan runners' success. Their long-distance running performances keep improving. In 2017, Kenyans claimed 7 of the world's top 10 men's marathon times. Meanwhile, marathon speeds are slowing in Western nations like the US, UK, and Finland that once dominated. The author attributes this to increasing wealth, rising obesity rates, and greater interest in other sports. Interest in long-distance running has waned, reducing the participant pool and elite athlete pipeline. From 1983 to 1998, U.S. marathon times declined annually. Sub 2.20 finishers dropped from 267 to 35. UK from 137 to 17. 5. And Finland followed the same pattern. In early 20th century, poor agrarian Finland produced multiple Olympic running champions like Kolemäinen, Mäkinen, Zatopek, Pekala, and Lassila. Finland dominated global distance running until the 1970s. By the 2000s, Finland became affluent. The running genes remained, but the culture vanished. Famed track statistician Peter Matthews observed, "In this materialistic era, people sit rather than stand, play video games rather than exercise, drive kids rather than let them walk. Only the poor and hungry possess the perseverance to become elite distance runners." We've covered the second point. Beyond talent, relentless effort is crucial, and cultural differences shape elite athletes. Separating innate and postnatal factors doesn't mean they operate independently. Talent-only thinking is flawed. Even superior genes require postnatal factors to excel. Take height's impact. Identical twins share identical genes. Normally, they reach similar adult heights, but significant nutritional differences during development alter outcomes. For instance, American medical expert Tanner studied a pair of identical twin brothers who were separated since childhood. The older brother grew up in a well-nourished family, while the younger brother was raised by an abusive relative who often didn't feed him. What did... As adults, they still looked identical and had similar body proportions. But the older brother was 7.6 centimeters taller than the younger one. If we compared the human body to a computer, innate factors are the hardware and postnatal factors are the software. Only by having high-quality hardware and installing the most advanced software can we achieve excellent performance. In what areas is genetic research currently applied, and what controversies exist? Next, let's discuss the book's third question. Currently, sports genetic research is mainly applied in 2 areas. First, helping coaches select talents and enabling athletes to find suitable sports early. Some countries have already applied sports genetic research in talent selection practices with good results. For example, Australia is at the forefront in talent identification. In sports, in 1994, Australia launched the Talent Search program, with a key component being genetic talent identification to guide athletes to unfamiliar sports, like winter events. Freestyle skiing aerial champion Elisa Camplin loved sports since childhood and tried gymnastics, track and field, cross country, but hadn't found her true fit. The Talent Search program discovered her talent for freestyle skiing aerials. Her body proportions, explosive power, and coordination matched the sport perfectly. This new sport felt novel to her, but she had never seen snow before. On her first jump attempt, she broke a rib, and on the second, she hit a tree. When everyone thought this switch was a joke, Campin's performance steadily improved. After just 14 months of practice, she competed in her first Winter Olympics. Though she failed in her first Olympics, at the 2002 Salt Lake City Winter Games,
She won the gold medal in freestyle skiing aerials and repeated the feat at the World Championships the following year. Discovering talent combined with advanced training methods led Camplin to success.
Of course, genetic talent selection must also consider the athlete's own wishes.
Camplin passionately loved every sport she participated in. Forcing athletes to switch sports against their will and interests hinders development.
Moreover, the author doesn't unreservedly support genetic talent selection. He mentions in the book that a U.S. company tested children under 10 for their ACTN3 gene type, claiming to identify athletic potential. As mentioned earlier, this gene relates to running ability. However, the author and experts believe this service offers near zero value for 8 to 10-year-olds. First, observing a child run on the track often reveals running aptitude immediately. Second, athletic performance always combines innate hardware and postnatal software. Predicting a child's future as a sprinter from one gene test is unreliable. Or marathon runner, it's meaningless. The second application of sports genetics research is injury prevention, helping athletes prevent injuries. Injuries shadow sports constantly, affecting performance and sometimes claiming lives. For instance, sudden deaths occur in marathons. Why do athletes die on the course? U.S. scientists identified hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a genetic disorder, as a leading cause, caused by mutations in the MYH7 gene. It thickens the left ventricular wall. The left ventricle can't fully relax between beats, impeding blood return to the heart.
In the US, 1 in 500 have this condition. Most live normally, but marathons drastically increase sudden death risk.
Thus, both carriers and average runners should avoid high-intensity training like marathons. Beyond sudden death, brain injuries plague impact sports like boxing and football. Athletes with the APOE4 gene variant face brain injury risks dozens of times higher.
U.S. scientists studied 9 boxers and football players with traumatic brain injuries, finding all carried the APOE4 variant. Athletes with this variant should enhance protective measures during competition and immediately stop for treatment if head injuries occur.
These are the 2 current applications of sports genetics research.
In recent years, sports genetics research and application have sparked controversies, mainly in 3 aspects. First, potential fueling of racist debates, the relationship between sports genes and race. In Western developed countries, it faces resistance. Genetic surveys by European or American scientists in Jamaica and East Africa are often opposed locally. In Australia, sports genetic testing often proceeds disguised as protein testing.
Second, potential compromise of athletes' privacy.
Scientists have identified many injury risk genes, a genetic advance, yet raising concerns. Neurologist Barry Jordan believes if athletes test positive for injury risk genes, employers might refuse contracts if information leaks. Thus, strengthening regulations to protect athletes' privacy and rights is crucial. Third, potential abuse of gene doping. As sports genetics research deepens, gene doping has emerged. Simply put, athletes use medical treatment as pretext to introduce performance-enhancing genes. Since 2003, IOC and WADA banned gene doping. Detection methods now exist, like identifying genetically engineered EPO used to boost endurance. We've covered the third question. Sports genetics aids talent selection, event matching, and injury prevention. But controversies remain regarding racism, privacy breaches, and gene doping. This concludes the main content of the sports gene. Millions of years ago on the East African savanna, humans started running, and that athletic spirit is still in our blood. In this sense, we all have good sports genes. Build a strong body, no matter your natural gifts, and keep exercising to become your best self. All right, that wraps up the sports gene for you. The reading notes are under the audio. We'll see you next episode.